The Atlanta Braves are on one of the greatest historic runs in baseball history. From their impressive current 62-33 record, 167 home runs, the most home runs in American League and National League ever before the All-Star break in MLB history, and are on pace to hit 330 home runs, which will break the 2019 Minnesota Twins season record of 307 home runs, franchise record 8 players going to the All-Star game, and having the #1 player in the league, Ronald Acuna, who is leading the MVP votes, might be the reason they are so good. But it goes way beyond that, and here's why. In the 2022 season, the Braves finished with a record of 101-61, third best in the league, and lost to the Phillies 8-3 in the final game, ultimately losing 3-1. After a disappointing end to the 2022 season, Braves started the offseason with a bang by freeing Sam Murphy from his torture tenure out in Oakland and signing him to a 6-year, $73 million deal. This was a statement move made by the club. Travis d'Arnaud was far from a terrible catcher, and in fact accumulated the 4th most WAR for the Braves last season, and was tied for the 5th most for all catchers in the majors. However, the Braves saw a potential improvement, and the ruthless nature of their front office showed itself again. Atlanta also added some depth to the bullpen with the additions of Joe Jimenez and Lucas Luetge. Jimenez has been a solid bullpen piece and has proven to be a good value pickup. Luetge, not so much. The offseason wasn't all about additions, though. They lost Dansby Swanson to the Chicago Cubs after the Cubs offered him a $177 million contract, which the front office believed to be too much for the floppy-haired shortstop. This would be a massive blow to the Braves. Swanson was a huge piece of the Braves' puzzle. He played the most games for them last season and had the most plate appearances, and accumulated the most WAR on the team. That's before we even start talking about his impact on the locker room. Finding a replacement in the market for him would be tough. So tough that the Braves didn't even bother trying. Instead, they decided to gamble on youngster Vaughn Grissom. The Athletic rated their offseason as a B+, which seemed fair considering there were both major additions and subtractions. The media as a whole were admittedly pretty high on the Braves. ESPN, for example, ranked them as the 3rd best team in the majors and gave them an 85% chance at the playoffs, with a 10.5% chance at the World Series. Quite steep expectations. Despite that, though, the Braves not only met those expectations, but far exceeded them, with Fangraphs now giving them a 100% chance of making the playoffs and a nearly 26% chance at the World Series. But how exactly have they done this? Any discussion about the Braves this season has to start with this man, Ronald Acuna Jr. After tearing his right ACL in July of 2021, Ronald Acuna Jr. returned on April 28, 2022. He put up a solid 2.1 WAR over 119 games and a 2.9 win pace. This season, it seems he's all the way back. At the time of recording this, he is slashing .340, .422, and .585 with a 171 WRC+. He's 3rd amongst all qualified hitters for average, 1st for on-base percentage, 4th for slugging, and 3rd for WRC+. Those are some outstanding surface stats, but things are just as impressive when you dig deeper. The reason for this bounce back seems to be rooted in his renewed confidence in his knee. According to Baseball Prospectus Robert Orr, he's getting deeper into his batting stance and putting more weight on his back leg than he did last year, allowing for a more explosive swing. He's swinging less both inside and outside the zone, forcing pitchers to throw more strikes, even though he's hitting the ball harder than ever. In fact, Acuna's average exit velocity on his hits is among the highest ever recorded. It's not only the speed of the ball off his bat that's on display, though. Acuna's been racing around the base paths and leads the majors in stolen bases with 53, a whole 7 more than Stewie Ruiz in second. He is rightfully getting MVP hype, but while he may be the most valuable player to the Braves, he is far from the only one. The Braves acquired Matt Olson as a replacement for Freddie Freeman after the first baseman made an emotional departure for the LA Dodgers. Freeman left a massive hole, both in terms of on-field production and as locker room leader. Olson has filled both of these roles valiantly. It also helps when you're absolutely mashing the ball. At the time of recording this, he is just one homer behind Shohei for the lead in home runs in the majors. That, of course, means he leads the National League in homers, with Pete Alonso in a distant second. Olsen was a product of a great trade with the Oakland Athletics in the offseason before last. The Braves' addition from the Athletics from this offseason has arguably been just as good. Sean Murphy was the Braves' big splash of the offseason, as mentioned earlier. While there was no doubt Murphy was a good player, many wondered if he was that much better than his predecessor, Travis d'Arnaud. Murphy has silenced those critics. He is the runaway leader amongst catchers in WAR and has the highest WRC plus amongst catchers with more than 250 plate appearances. He's arguably been the best catcher in the majors this season and has more than justified the capital the Braves gave up to get him. A player the Braves didn't have to trade for was Spencer Strider, and he's been as crucial to their success as anyone on the roster. Strider had an outstanding breakout campaign last season, finishing second in the Rookie of the Year rankings, only getting beaten out by fellow Atlanta Brave Michael Harris. His talent was undeniable, but there were questions about whether or not he would be good enough to be an ace and be able to carry a pitching staff. He's answered those questions emphatically. He has been blowing hitters away all season. His strikeouts per 9 innings are far and away the best in the league. And for what it's worth, his 12 wins are tied for third in the majors. Strider is undoubtedly an ace. On top of that, Austin Riley and Ozzie Albies have been at their all-star best. Michael Harris is down from his rookie season, but is still one of the best center fielders in the National League. Bryce Elder has been a nice find and made his first all-star appearance this season. Even the loss of Dansby Swanson hasn't really been felt, and it's not because of Vaughn Grissom. Instead, it's been this guy who's stepped up. Orlando Arcia has been spectacular at shortstop for the Braves, and his 3 WAR so far earned him a spot on the National All-Star roster. This is truly an exceptional collection of talent, and for that, General Manager Alex Anthopoulos needs to be praised. But the man behind all these genius moves is Anthopoulos, the Atlanta Braves general manager. Anthopoulos has been relentless at finding and nurturing elite prospect talent. The likes of Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies, and Dansby Swanson have all come out of the Braves farm system. These were all guys with raw talent, but the Braves organization has managed to refine their abilities and mold them into world-class ball players. Then there's the matter of signing these guys to extremely cost-effective salaries. Austin Riley, Ronald Acuna Jr., Spencer Strider, Michael Harris, and Ozzie Albies are all on arguably below-market contracts. This means the Braves can go out and spend a bit more on players in the open market, thus further bolstering their teams. The trades for Matt Olson and Sean Murphy have shown that the Braves front office has once again evolved and has now expanded their long-term talent acquisition plan to include trades that further diversify their talent pool. All in all, the Braves are perhaps one of the best-run organizations in the sport. They are consistently contenders, and this season seems like the culmination of years of planning. They are the favorite to win it all this season, but as is always the case with baseball, anything can happen when we get to October. The Braves, of all teams, should know this after their World Series run in 2021. With that being said, it would take an almighty effort to derail this team in its current form, and there simply aren't too many teams with the potential to do that.